Hey,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
Very good. Ivan. Man and Without Hats got some new stuff coming soon. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Five song EP to start with.
yeah. And then you got more stuff coming out, that gonna surprise the fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, we've got part one. It's Men Without Hats again is what the album is called. Part one is a 5 song cover EP, and the part two is 12 original songs coming out early next year.
That's awesome. I mean, from what I've heard with Again Part One, I mean with the Rolling Stones song,
Yeah.
I mean, where did you take the idea to take a song like that? I mean, it comes from their Satanic Majesty's request. I mean, it's like an obscure Rolling Stone song, but you
Yeah,
took
well,
it from.
it's one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. That's how it all started, and we've been playing that one for about 2 years now live, and people love it. It really gets the or keeps the crowd going.
I mean, and then we got Blow at High Dough. I mean,
Mhm.
that is incredible. The way you fashioned it.
Yeah, that was great. That was fun. Also, that was I actually saw them perform that. That was the first time I saw them. Was I don't know how many years ago, but it was their first album, and I went to see them in Montreal just because of that song. I'd heard that song, and I went to check them out. Never heard of them before. Got to meet the guys, and both Gordon and I had a big, thick head of hair. It was the good old days.
What do you think of the days now? I mean, we got a whole different planet now. It's like
Yeah.
COVID-19, and no more touring, and
Oh, well, we've started touring again. We did our first show about a week ago, and we're heading off to the States at the end of the week to keep going. And things are opening up little by little. It didn't really affect us that much because we had already decided to take the time off and not tour last year to record the record, and so it didn't affect us as much as it did a lot of other people.
so let's say you feel safe on the road and everything's great.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Things are great. We did like I said, we did our first show about a week or 2 weeks ago, and in Calgary,
Okay.
and it was great. It was outdoors. But everything was fine. Everybody had a great time.
How far is your tour going? Like you're going into the United States and like just want to stay there for a little while?
Yeah, and it will next year is the 40th anniversary of the Rhythm of Youth album, the Safety Dance record, and so we're going to be embarking on a pretty extensive tour there too. We've got the UK is booked, Europe is booked, Canada's booked for next summer. The States is booked all around that, and so we're going to finish off in the States this year, and then pick up next year and start in earnest next year.
You find now with the internet, you've captured different audience. Let's say it's new people are discovering you.
Oh yeah, all new people all the time. That's what's great about this thing, and about having done it for so long. My fans come and bring their children and sometimes their grandchildren. So it's a cross generational thing now. It's a lot of fun, and when I listen to the radio now, when I listen to contemporary music, I hear so many influences from the '80s that also is what's keeping the interest alive in bands like us and permitting us to stay on the road.
Would you say there's newer bands coming out and trying to duplicate what you guys are doing? Like let's say type synth rock bands and electro pop bands and stuff like that. Do you find that
Yeah,
there's a resurgence of this stuff?
I do. I hear a lot of the 80s sounds on the radio. You take a band, I don't know, just a band like The Weekend, for example. That sound, it's awesome. I love what he does. But I'm just saying that it could have happened in the '80s. It wouldn't have been out of place in the '80s, and so it's things come full circle, I guess.
Have you went into production for any promo videos lately, or anything going to come out on that side for YouTube?
Yeah, we're starting to work on the video now. We're gonna have one done before the end of the year. So that'll be happening. Yeah.
Now, because you guys are like the pioneers of music videos as well, certainly you know what.
Yeah,
Or
that was our lucky break, just to happen, to put out a single when basically MTV had just opened up its doors almost, like they were playing our video. They were there. I don't know how many videos were in existence back then, but we were in pretty heavy rotation just for the lack of material, I guess, or whatever. But video definitely was a huge factor in our success.
certainly when you make a video like you guys did, because it's like there's only one of them, and it's people identify to it, and then it's like, what is this band? And like, let's just go and maybe buy the album now and see what's
Yeah.
inside of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the interesting, what piqued people's curiosity was when they heard the song. I think what they were expecting from a video was a guy with zipper clothing and a pointy hairdo and strange sunglasses, and they got this medieval Pied Piper personage
Right.
that was, I guess, not what a lot of people expected, and what made the video timeless now, because when you see it now, it doesn't look outdated. It looks like it always looked. Whereas a lot of other bands now, you look at the bands and you see the hair and the clothing and the dance moves and stuff like that, and it'll date it pretty easily. But this video is timeless, and the same thing with Pop Goes the World too. It's kind of a time, except for my hairdo, it's kind of a timeless video.
When you do make a video like that, do you know where it's going to end up in 30 years from now, or is it just done and like we have no clue where this is going to bring us?
Oh, I had no idea back then. We were on tour. We were actually on tour, and they yanked me off tour and said, "Okay, you got to fly to England and do a video," and it was all done very fast, and I had no point of reference back then. I kind of knew, we kind of knew what a video was, but it hadn't really marked our lives like it has now.
And it's like that. Technology makes it more cheaper to make and film videos now, and people are doing them left and right. People filming them in their living room, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
How big are you guys going to do it for this?
Oh, we'll see. I'm in touch with Mike Edmonds, the original Jester, and our plan is to go back to West Kington and the original setting for the original video, and film a reunion of sorts.
Okay.
In the original location. So that's our original plan. So I don't know how it might. Who knows? Who knows what it'll end up.
That's interesting, and I like that. Let's say going for the album, the EP again, part one. What's the experience like recording it? Did you find it was a different adventure, because it was a lot of covers? You
Yeah.
picked and choose from different genres.
Yeah, well, it was a long the actual recording was about 7 or 8 months, but the pre-production was a long process. We were a couple of years working on it, not full time obviously, but between tours and things like that, we were putting this thing together, and it kind of evolved organically it was originally supposed to be a covers album of just me and piano, just voice and piano.
Okay.
And that's how it started off like that about 3 years ago, and it kind of evolved into this giant thing, part 1 and 2, and full blown. But we recorded quite a bit more songs than are actually on the album too. So that was part of it too. We recorded about twice as many songs as we needed. So there'll be more to come.
And then when it's done, it's got to be mastered and just mixed perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys invested a lot of time to get it sounding right.
Yeah, well, that's one of the beauties of doing it the way we did it, the old school kind of, like finding a house and renting a big house and building your studio, putting a mobile studio into the house and living there until work until you've finished it making the record. That's kind of an old school way. People used to make records like that a lot back in the days, and it worked for us. It relieves a lot of the pressure. You're not paying by the hour in a studio and this and that. But we were totally isolated. We got to work as much as we want, try as many ideas as we wanted. That's the luxury that we have at this point in our career, I guess. But not everybody has that luxury. But
Yeah.
we afforded it to ourselves, and it worked out. We had a great time. Colin and I produced it. Show Marie, our guitarist, was the engineer and co-produced it with us. And the three of us just lived there for 7-8 months and just did it. Woke up every morning, had breakfast, and got to work. And at the end of the day, it's a craft. It's a craft like anything else. It's something you have to work on.
Do you find when you travel and stuff like that, and time goes by quick, because it's like you're on so much of a schedule, and you arrive here, you're not really sure where you are, and because you're going back on tour, or you're on tour right now, I should say. It's like, how do you enjoy that life? Is it like what you're made of?
I do. I took time off, and I took quite a while off. I was a stay-at-home dad for the first 10 years of my son's life. And I only put the band back together about 10 years ago, and have been touring since then. And I realized when I did put the band back together that I did miss it quite a bit, and I do enjoy it quite a bit. It's not for everybody. It's not. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. There's a lot of things that you have to give up to be able to do this kind of life. But at the end of the day, I love it. My son loves it too, and
Right.
We're having a good time.
And what it all comes down to is to have the fans happy,
Yeah, and
Also,
I've been blessed. We have the greatest fans. I always say it. We have amazing fans who are always, always, pushing the depth of our catalog to people. Like always telling people that we're more than a one hit or a two hit wonder. And I'm just so, like I say, I repeat myself, but I'm just so fortunate to be able to do this, to reconnect with my fans after all these years, and just the smile on people's faces when I play the songs for them is more than a reward for what we do. And it's what keeps us going. People ask me, do we ever get tired of singing? And I never get tired of singing these songs. Just the joy that I can see that I'm procuring people is just it's just that's like I say, that's what keeps me going.
because there's people that sometimes when they do get the success, they want to skip out the songs that made them, that placed them there.
Exactly. Well, I was guilty of that too. Every artist is kind of like that. We always think that the next one is the best one. It's always the best is yet to come, and that's a mindset that is peculiar to artists. But I've come back. I've circled back to what we do best, and because we strayed from the plot quite a bit. We ended up with an album like Sideways, which had no keyboards at all. To come back and do something and to embrace what I did back then, and it's easier now because there's no pressure. There's no Back in the 80s. It's a bit like being in a band sometimes is a bit like being in a sports team. There's a competition involved. There's traveling and competing. You're competing for a certain amount of spots on the hit parade. You're competing for a certain amount of spots in the clubs and in the venues. So there is a certain amount of competition involved.
Yeah.
When you're starting off as a band, and now it's there, that competition has kind of been eliminated. We're the bands that like Men Without Hats that are out there touring are touring. They're touring because they want to. They're not touring because they have to, or they're trying to sell a record or something like that. We've been touring with the cream of 80s bands, from the B-52s, the Human League, to Eddie Money, to Howard Jones. I've been playing with all these people, and these people are just, let me tell you, they're doing it because they love it. They're not doing this to pay the rent.
Right. And you got to keep it at like that, because if you forget that, it starts to be a lot of work.
Yeah, that's it. It gets harder if you're doing it for other reasons than for the love of the craft. And Howard Jones is I sort of thank him for teaching me that sort of thing. I see a guy when I watch Howard Jones sound checking and performing. I see a person who's just so in love with what he does. He lives it like all day, every day. It's amazing. He's a great inspiration to me when I tour with him.
That's incredible. I mean, just to be doing it still today, I applaud. I mean, it's great to see this stuff, being released. But a new album, or EP, I should say. Always say album, but yeah, a new EP. That's awesome. You're on Spotify and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the old classics are on YouTube, so we got to be happy for that, to watch them on Friday nights.
That's it. Saturday Night Safety Dance.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Ivan. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And, discussing your latest products.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
All right, you have a good week.
You too, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
see you. Bye.
See you.